Okay. Oh, we go live. I'm not sure if this will be okay. I was already live, but hello, ladies. It's Evelina here, and today I brought to actually amazing guest, Tammy Scarlett from the Wellness Network. And yeah, that's we connected actually quite a time ago, and I felt so inspired to bring her as a guest, also to share more about yeah that power of the connections with ourselves. What you also know that I am standing for from my own experience, but Tammy also will share more about that from her part, and yeah, and also her experience. And I thought this will be very valuable also to you, to follow also the intuitions and also to yeah to trust in yourself. And that's why I want to bring this special guest, what you are not to guests to used to having so much guests, but now this is also the way how I want to navigate the powerhouse of essence and expansions and bring those wonderful women here. And yes, then I will give actually yeah the voice to Tammy. And if you like, you can also introduce yourself, of course, or share whatever is from your depth of your heart. Uh,
Thank you. Thank you, Evelina. It's very nice to be here with you. And as you said, we got together, well, it must be, let's see, the Women's Wellness Network is just over 2 years old, and you've been on for a few interviews over there. So we've, touched base on and off for quite a while. And I think there's a lot of similarities and a lot of connections between us that are, um, you know, deep in here, not just thinking, it's somewhere deep inside. And you're mentioning about your intuition and following that and following yourself and trusting yourself. And can I say a little bit about my background and what I went through?
sure, that's
Thank you.
your
Thank you. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, I am Dr. Tammy Scarlett, and I've just recently become a doctor of holistic health. I went through a unbelievable health challenge period, not even just one thing that happened. It was a whole bunch of things compounding um, over and over because I was missing the important parts. I was missing the intuition. I was trusting myself. I wasn't listening to my body. And I ended up with breast cancer and going through a divorce at the same time and went through all the reconstruction. And as soon as that was finished, I wasn't even 5 years out of breast cancer and had a rupture. The capsule around one of the implants ruptured and poisoned my entire system. So that, final little blow there says, wait, wake up, Tammy, you're sleeping. You may be doing all this spiritual work and all this other stuff, but I was cognizing too much. I wasn't actually getting into my body and physically being with myself. Um, because that takes a lot of courage, as a lot of people know. It takes a lot of um, energy, and it takes a lot of well, it doesn't have to take a lot of time. It can take a lot of time, but it takes a lot of uh, courage is still the number one thing to really look at yourself and look at your triggers and look at the things that make you who you are and your beliefs that brought you to this place. Um, because you get to this plateau, we are here, we are who we are right now. Um, that past person doesn't exist. Our present person is here, and the future is still yet to be told. So we got to get okay with who we are right now in this minute. And how do we go about that? At that time when I was going through all that, I had lost trust for everybody, every person, every friend, every, family member, everything. It was terrible. And learning how to come back into that and start to live, actually live a fulfilled life, not just, one where you're doing all the things that check the boxes and make you look great on the outside. And working on the inner life is far more important. You know, eventually, what do we look at to reflect who we've become, except our bank accounts? You know, that's that monetized way that we really value ourselves, and it's completely wrong. It has nothing to do with what's in our bank account. It has everything to do with what's in our internal bank. How much gold have we transmuted? How much of our lead, our pain, our agony, our trials and tribulations have we worked with, you know, mixed up, looked at, uncovered, and revealed what is really there in the end? And I think in the end, I've also had some near-death experiences, uh, which kind of lend a little more uh, power. Maybe it drives things home a lot more for me in the end, because I hadn't even looked at those. I've had more than one near-death experience and didn't even look at it, didn't want to know about it, didn't want to think about it. But now, and I'll say one more thing and then I'll let you have a word, Evelina. The way that I've, as I said, I walked out of my life basically a year ago. I woke up on my 57th birthday and was somebody different. I had been, going through all the motions, doing all the things, getting all the certifications, meeting all the people, having all the connections, and I still was not me. And I woke up that day, which will be a year tomorrow, because tomorrow is my birthday. And I just thought, I need to switch tracks. I need to switch gears. I need to, follow a different path here. This path is great. It's wonderful, but it's not the path I need to be on. So with that, I totally just reassessed, reevaluated, redid, some of my own things that I help with other people, did them for myself again, and, discovered that I'd really become somebody different. That past person was that past person, and now I get to be who I really truly am, without all the weight of all the labels and the masks and the expectations of not only other people, but of myself. And now I can say I don't know anybody who's richer than I am. My bank account maybe doesn't reflect that. I don't have, those zeros, but I have so much internal abundance, so much gold, so much value for myself that it doesn't matter. I'm unstoppable now. I've become that force. You hear about that, you read those, you see those people, you're like, oh, I want to be that. How do I do that? Well, you have to go through the process, and everybody's process is different. Everybody's different. So learning what you are, who you are, how you are, is the only way to get there. And you can't decide, I'm going to use Tony Robbins as an example, right? I took many of his courses. I've done lots of things with them. I've been to many masterminds and all the things. We can follow those down, but if we're not figuring out how they sit with us, in us, then it's just a bunch of stuff piled on top. It's just more stuff on top. If you're cold, you put a blanket on. Well, what if you just increased your energy instead of using that outside blanket? There's ways for us to be able to do that. So we can see all our mentors, myself included, as a guide for other people. We're necessary to help guide people, not to, do this and this is the way, do that and you'll have this, because it doesn't work that way, because we're not them. And to be able to figure out for ourselves what works, who we can connect with in that place. That's what we have to be able to hear. And I think it's just so much noise from the outside world that says, pick this guru, pick that person, this mentor, that person, and put them on a pedestal, when it's really, we should be putting ourselves on the pedestal. And that was one of those things I was always fearful of. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to be, I guess, accountable when it comes down to it, because I wasn't able, I didn't find I was able to be responsible for who I'd become, because I was just reacting to everything. I wasn't responding to things. So learning how to respond instead of react really just put my feet into the ground. And, I think that for most of us, just at least being able to do that for ourselves before we decide, I need Tony Robbins, I need Evelina Course, I need Tammy Scarlett, I need whoever. Figuring out what works for us is always got to be the first thing. And I think too much of it has just been, here, take me, help me, fix me, complete me, where it needs to go the other way, right? It needs for us to fill ourselves up. And that's what I'm seeing so much in the world now. There's so many more people who are there's so many more coaches and things that are stepping out and becoming who they are able to be. But there's so many more people now that are actually opening their eyes. There's so many more people that are saying, oh yeah, you're right, wait a second, I don't know who I am. I'm all the stuff that I was taught and learned over my lifetime. I've become that, whether it's media, whether it's Hollywood, whether it's your parents, it doesn't matter who it is. It's just that we take pieces of those things to make us who we are. And we need to take all that stuff off and see who's actually still left in there. And do you like that person? And if you don't, then that's where the problem is, because we've disconnected from our true selves because we feel shame or guilt or any of those things. But those are also things that have been laid upon us. We don't have to carry these. We don't have to hold them. We are vessels of pure, unadulterated light and life. That's it. That's all that's in there. So any of those things that make us feel bad or uncomfortable, they're not us. They're just little triggers that make us experience, that make us, as we call it, live. But are we really living, or are we just existing?
Yeah, that's really, yeah, wonderful what you shared also about yourself, but also about this all, because this is so deep topic. And I fully also agree with you, as as some of the ladies who are maybe new in the community didn't know much about me, but those who knows me then know also standing also about that. Really first go deep internal to yourself, because I know what is that cause. Well, like for you was breast cancer and also the other parts, what you did a lot. Then you one day you woke up and you actually found out that was what was maybe the external expectations, what was that, but actually this was not aligned with yourself, and doesn't mean that this was not didn't brought you maybe pleasure, like happiness or joy, because probably did, but also didn't fulfillment your purpose, what you came here for. And that is really because what you touch so many topics, but I want actually also like yes, touch that even deeper, because that's really true. When we come back to ourselves, we really know it. And what you also share about how many zeros you have or you don't have doesn't matter, because what I am also standing up, and even in the moment when I was really disconnect, I had really sources. I had finances. I had everything, but I went so far away from myself that this was really like no sources will help me in this moment to feel really happy. And that's sometimes people forget about, and this affects on my health, because I had like all symptoms of pregnancy where I wasn't pregnant. And yeah, like like we feel like you have milk somewhere in the chest or whatever, breast and everything. And this was like, yeah, I didn't knew it what happened. My mind was also, I never been pregnant and I didn't knew it also, but that's like what I hear later and from ladies and also with the doctor, then yeah, because my mind was also in all directions, like, the Bayesian probability, this is normal because that is the hormone hypophyse, which was bigger, but this was actually affecting me so much in my health also and other areas, and no sources will change it. But because I went so far from myself, because I made one decisions against myself, which led me to the disconnections. And and that internal state. And when we have, that's why I stand so strong, because I see that also in the world. And so many people have, and even have a lot of capacities, even millions, billions. And mostly, of course, those people have also the capacity to hold the responsibility, but some of them have only the system which pulled it. But in case they lose it, then sometimes this also lead them to lose their health or whatever, or they forgot about that there is still the part of health, or even some people who are close to them, and this can happen. But when we really focus on building our internal capacity really to be within ourselves, what I do believe then is, no matter what happens around us, but we have always ourselves, and we can always rely there. And what I see, I don't know if you see that this way the same, Tammy, but then I will ask. But actually, what I see also a lot of people is walking away from themselves. They don't want to look internally till something harder is happening, because this is hard work. I know this, looking into our deepness, see everything, that not everything is shining as it should, or as probably maybe outside should, or whatever. This is really courage take courage to really look at it. But I do, and this sometimes scares me even, that people don't want to look into themselves.
Right.
And that's why what you share also about Tony Robbins, I follow also. And I actually, Tony Robbins was first person who actually took me out from the situation when I was really in the disconnections, because I even didn't knew it at this time about mentorship, about coaching. This was really, I found him on YouTube, and later I joined his one program, other, and so. And this was really, this person was really helped me. But what was it was not the awareness also, and this time also for me, but also for other people. I see that what you shared also, then when you see that huge following, you see so much people there, and you are running there, and people are not aware. And this is the moment only just for, okay, this is the breakthrough, because of course Tony Robbins is for the breakthrough mostly. But this is the moment, the state, you are in the frequency, but in the end you need to also look deeper into it. And or you can do it on your own, or you can also have someone who will guide you, as you shared, but who will guide you to find out the answer on your own. I know not everyone have the ability to find it by themselves, because this is really like courage. And sometimes you have some tools which will speed up the process. That's why are also mentors and coaches, and because this helps, of course. But this is not like you share it, also give away, then you will help me. Because if I give you, I join you, then you will save me, or whatever what you
Yeah.
share it. And that's, I fully agree. And this is, and especially, that's the awareness wasn't, and is still not, because I also see some rooms where it's 1,000 people or whatever, and some people still looking with the mentality to that, because this will save them or whatever. This is not, of course, this is not, then I am also not in the rooms. Even next week I will also speak in very huge environment where there is a lot of people. But I know there are also conscious and aware people who will also join, and they, or the parties also in different ways. But that's really like, we need to always look into internal ourselves to really, when we, even if we need some guidance, then always decide from which direction we want, right? Because we can make this exactly the same decisions, we can make exactly the same or investments qua time, energy or finances, but we can get totally different results. And yeah, what you mentioned, and this is just like the topic flowing for me also because I love it. But that's so true because yeah, well, I do believe that so many people is also forgetting about that everything starts within, and the internal state is that our God, as you mentioned, our yeah being, we are so rich actually within. Only we forget about that, and
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
It's
And of
on
course,
our own
doesn't.
treasure hunt, right? You got to do your own treasure hunting and see what's in there. Nobody else is going to do it for you. And as we just said about giving your power away to somebody else, um, that's it's like having somebody make your meals for you every day, but they don't check how it's affecting your diet or how it's coming out in the other end, like not literally, but that too. But it's not, just because it's working for one person doesn't mean it's going to work for somebody else. And if we're not in tune with ourselves, we're not going to know if it's working or not. We just, oh, well, it must be working because they're this person, they're this guru, they're this influencer, they're this mentor, they're this whatever. So it has to be working. And then they get to the other end of the program and it didn't work or nothing changed. Why? When it worked, as you said, for lady over there, it worked for her. How come it didn't work for me? Well, it's our own things inside of ourselves that block how much we can take in, how much we receive, how much we're willing to receive. And I think, if we get hung up on the first or second thing that comes along that kind of knocks us off center, eh, those are kind of the only things that we start to see. We only kind of focus on those things that are not quite right, when the way to get back to center is focusing on the things that are right, the things that do work, the things that, really, um, the things that speak to us, not necessarily speak to somebody else. So if we're not willing, I guess that really is all it comes down to in the end, is if you're willing to look at yourself, if you're willing to um, let it get a little messy, then you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. And when I first started doing this work, just before I started the Women's Wellness Network, um, Amos Bracewell, I got involved with him through ENTV, and he interviewed me, and I'd never been interviewed before. And it was one of those things I was really afraid of doing, because there's so many, old things that used to be in my closet. My closet is empty now. I have nothing to, no, there's nothing anybody can hold over me. Even the worst, most heinous, horrible thing that's happened in my life, and there have been a few, it can't be held over me. I have the peace and the centering within myself that nobody can take that away from me. That's mine. And to be able to get to that place where you can, that's freedom. That's freedom. So it wouldn't matter if I was, imprisoned, if I was out on the streets, if I was living in a castle. It wouldn't make a difference. What is inside is going to be inside regardless of what is outside. And that is the place that I hope that everybody would strive to get to, so that when these things that are happening out in the world, we all know all those crazy things that are happening, um, they don't knock you off, and they don't disrupt your flow, and they don't disrupt your sleep. Um, you know, I'll just use those files that are out there. So many people are still unwilling to talk about it because, for women at least, 3 of every 4 people, I think it's actually gone up a little bit. It's higher than that. And, you know, regular people have internalized that and covered it up and hidden it and not spoken about it and not brought it out and not allowed themselves to be free of it. So when all this stuff comes up and you know, you feel like, oh, this is my time, I could actually talk about this now. Talk about it. Talk about it with yourself. You don't have to talk about it to somebody else if you're feeling, you know, any of the things, but at least talk about it with yourself. Because if you can't have a conversation with yourself or Gus, you can't have a conversation with anybody. And that is it's a death sentence. You stop living, you stop being, you stop creating, because you're always nervous, you're always worried, you're always in fear. There's always, you know, there's always this challenge of am I going to be found out? Well, most of those things that have ever happened to us, you know, happened to us. It wasn't us. It was an experience. And, you know, one of the biggest things I'm going to say right now about that whole situation is to learn how to forgive. And if you can't get into yourself and find that love for yourself inside there and forgive yourself, you cannot forgive anybody else and you can't move forward. So the first place it starts always is with us, with ourselves. We have ourselves, we're with ourselves all the time. We're the only ones that know what we're thinking. We're the only ones, well, except sometimes, you know, nowadays you just never know exactly. The phone seems to sometimes pick up things that you're thinking. But besides that, even if it did, I'm free. It can pick up, it can talk about, it can do whatever it wants. I'm free. And I would love for everybody else on this planet to get to that place, because I think that is our birthright.
Yes, that's really definitely. I really strongly stand for it, because there is so many times then we think then, yeah, then is everything okay, but it's not okay. And the freedom really within us, I cannot say it a lot from my own experience only in this moment when I was disconnected, but just before and after it, I always felt free. And even maybe in those moments, because I don't know, there was something like within me. And maybe this was not comfortable, for instance, also in my home, for my mom, for instance, especially. For my father, not that much, maybe, but for my mom, because I always just saying what I thought, and I was always whatever that she wanted me to do it that, but I said no, I am going to do different things. And this was like, and in different places also happening, that was like I had the strong what is it, but till the moment when I make against myself the decisions. And this time was totally different, because this time I wasn't free really. I was like, I was in cage, in
Yeah.
own cage, because actually, yeah, I didn't set any more boundaries. That's why I attract a lot of different. That's why this affect also my health, because this was not happening just because I won decisions only. This yeah, added some layers, and in the end your body react. And that's only in my case, this was like maybe I had very small signals in my body, but not that maybe huge. But this was for me like boom. And then yeah, then I knew it, I need to get out from it, because there is no way. Okay, there was not like kind of burnout, however maybe this was, I don't know, I didn't feel that like burnout. This was more like my body was really, yeah, just. And I know this was just the result of these decisions, because I know what kind of later where I didn't set the boundaries for myself, which was leading me, because I know who I am, but because the yeah, environment was put me actually to do different things. And of course, sometimes you won't compromise, because especially if I start my journey as expat, then it was just like you need to compromise some things. You don't have to, but I know in my own country I would probably be with a very open mouth. And then that change from other side, of course, I know this was also positive. Probably I need to have some lessons that sometimes you need to be also humble. Even I was always like with big heart, but I knew it also that if it's something for me, then I will do, and if it's something not for me, I didn't. But this time was like, yeah, I didn't have the freedom in this part of this connections, and I fully agree with you. What is it? Because so many people also do the cage for themselves, like, yeah, even with the didn't trusting, or like you shared, you was maybe thinking like not sure how do it will be if I will do the interviews or whatever. But probably this also was reaching you in some cases, not only through the contacts with other people, but also the way that you show up every time for yourself and for others. And that's,
Yeah.
yeah. And yeah, if you could share something maybe a little bit also about the trust, because of course, when we connect to ourselves, then we also trust ourselves more, right? And
Yes.
yeah, if you could maybe give someone, I don't know, some tips or whatever, how to increase that trust. Is there something what you think? Yeah, I know that when we build our capacity, we trust also more to ourselves, because this is like building up. And of course, we are
Right.
more confident when we take actions also.
Right.
But yeah, how is that in your, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess for myself, I didn't really even know that that was a thing. I didn't know that I had fallen into that um, space of not trusting, and to realize that it was ultimately because I didn't trust myself. So it's difficult to trust somebody else um, if you can't really hear their tone. You're missing some things, or you're trying to you're putting something upon it before it even happens, and those expectations of how it should sound or look or be um, sometimes make you a little bit blind, and it makes you not really see the truth underneath. And we give ourselves away, or we give our money to somebody, or we follow somebody's advice and realize they weren't connected either. I mean, it sounds good, it looks good, the information they have, there's thousands and thousands of years of information out there on healing and mindset and all the things. And they can have all that stuff. But if they're underneath, their seed of themselves is a little bit dark, then you might get the information, but it's not going to come to you in the light. It's not going to come with the correct tonage. If somebody actually believes something, then it comes out. We can act, the world is full of actors, but that can only last for so long. When you are around somebody for a certain amount of time, you start to, um, you pick up things, you can say that probably about every person that you know. But we don't do that with ourselves. We don't listen to those little things. You know, when we have a conversation with somebody, just even like right now, when am I taking my pauses? When am I breathing? What are the thoughts between the words that I'm saying? Am I rushing to say these things? Am I really saying them from my head, or am I saying them from my heart? So that is the number one thing, I think, to discern whether it's coming from your thoughts, your brain, your just, patterns and ruminating about things, or if it's actually clear and true in this moment. That's, sit down and ask yourself. I guess kinesiology is a really good way, the muscle testing, within your body, within your own body. Tell yourself a lie. Close your eyes and tell yourself a lie. What does it feel like? Close your eyes and tell yourself the truth. What does it feel like? So once you start at least to understand that vibration of the truth, what it feels like, it's it's unmistakable. So somebody could tell you a lie, but if you're tuned into yourself and listening with all the sensories, because it's not just, the five that we usually work with. It's, the intuition, the deeper stuff, the meta sensories, the clairs really was what it comes down to. How in tune are we? Are we noticing what people are, um, what their face is like? Are we know when we look at a picture, let's just say, of somebody, you can almost see what they're thinking. You know what their emotions are just by looking at the picture. So look at yourself. Stand in front of the mirror. Get to know you. What do you look like? Don't judge yourself. Oh, my eyes are too close together. My chin's too long. Whatever, whatever the things are. Um, what do you see when you look in that? And look in your own eyes and tell yourself the truth and tell yourself a lie and see what that is. What do your eyes do? What does it feel like? Um, does it make you feel uncomfortable, or does it make you feel powerful? Because a lot of us in the past, as children, you start to tell lies to protect yourself. So sometimes lies feel powerful, but they're not powerful. They're just covering over something. They're a blanket ultimately. So knowing for yourself those little cues of your own, just of your own. You don't have to go out and look at everybody else. Just start with yourself. And the mirror work is super easy. Every time I go into the bathroom, I'm walking past, I'm on my way to the loo. I 9 times out of 10, hey, how's it going? Or how are you feeling? What's happening? Are you okay? Wash my hands. I'm standing in front of the mirror. What's going on? Are you good? Do you need to be lifted up? Are you feeling, like have get to know yourself. We know other people, we think we know other people, but we need to know ourselves. And in every way, in the most ridiculous ways, the food you like, you're not going to eat peas. I don't like peas. You're not going to eat them because you don't like them and they don't make you feel good. So get to know that about other things, your other senses, your other ways of communicating, and communicate with yourself first. As long as we, break ourselves down, you don't have to share it with everybody. You don't have to tell the world. Um, you don't have to say anything. You don't even have to write it down. Journaling is amazing. We know journaling is amazing. But if that makes you nervous because you think somebody might see it, or you actually don't even want to write the words because they're disempowering or they're super uncomfortable, well, that tells you something. That's pointing. That's something that's pointing you to uncover that, dig a little deeper. Why is that? Where'd that come from? So just having our own question about ourselves before we question the world, before we question another person. If we get to know ourselves at least a little bit before we start taking on other people's ideas or advices or ways of being, then we have a foundation. And I think that's where you have to start, because everything that we have before this moment has been, built upon the things that maybe weren't great, that maybe were lies, that maybe were hurtful. So clearing it all away, unpacking it all, it's like they say, unbuild the house, take all the bricks apart, find the problems, see where the things are that, don't line up anymore. Because maybe they worked for you before, but maybe they don't work anymore. And we can't, um, it's like you have to reintroduce yourself, reimagine yourself, and see yourself in the future, how you want to see yourself. Who do you want to become? Because we're always becoming. And if you don't have somewhere to go, you're just going to keep going around in circles and spirals and loops. It's a never ending story. And there's so much to learn. There's so many things that we can do in this world, and there's so many people to help, and so many interesting ways of being and experiencing. So let's just do that.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you, Tammy. This was so powerful and so wonderful. And yes, and of course, I know that you created also the Roseline Express. And do you want to also share a little bit about that and how others can also find about that? And if they want, we can share later the links or whatever to it.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Well, as you can see, I am dressed here. Oh, where'd she go? Well, it's
Oh,
okay.
my light.
I'm just going to grab a sip of water. Okay, yes, the Roseline Express. It is, oh my gosh, it is the vehicle, let's just say, that we take an imaginative journey on. It's a healing journey. And this first one that I have out is called The Case of the 13 Missing Crown Jewels. So the crown jewels are, of course, your cranial nerves. And it is the way that those things connect and how we use them in our body every day. And you don't have to be a man, you don't have to be a woman, you don't have to be a child, you just have to be human. We all have them, right? We all have these nerves and they work a certain way. They do certain functions in our human body. So just kind of learning a little bit about that makes it so much easier to learn so much more about our body and the way it responds and why we do things. So the 13 missing crown jewels takes you on an adventure. And the first portion of it, well, the whole thing is going to be free until I finish completing everything. And I'm on episode number 10. So right now there are 10 episodes that you can go along and follow along. It incorporates different practices because for myself, as I said, I didn't trust anybody, I didn't trust anything, and I didn't trust myself. So I just wanted to have something where I could get back to who I was, feel good about what I was doing, and have some fun. Because this work that we do sometimes is not fun. And when we're uncovering triggers and discovering things about ourselves that we'd forgotten, sometimes it's maybe you cry. It's okay to cry. Crying's great. That's washing the windows. The eyes to the soul, those are washing windows. Cry all you can. It gets out that chemistry inside of our body. The cells hold memory, so cry when you can. Um, there's also happy crying. It's not all bad. So the adventure takes you to an imaginary garden, which is the Sacred Garden from the Women's Wellness Network. There are 13 different stops, 14 if you count the station. So we go to the station, and at the station, you do your passenger's manifest. So that is the discovery or uncovery of yourself. It is a workbook where it's just a question and answer, and it's just asking you about yourself. Simple things. Starts off with something as simple as your name. And we unpack our name. What does that mean? Look at my name there on the screen, Tammy Scarlett. I now work with people with deep emotional woundings, with physical scars. Scarlett, the middle of my name, Tammy, My, that's my, and the first part of my name, scar, my scar. So unpacking these things, finding out, where did your name come from? What does it mean? Why were you named that? These are something that we live with every day. It's our first label. And we put all this makeup and stuff all over top of it to be what we think the name should be. But, we spend our whole lives trying to discover who we are. But really, if we just unpack our own name, say, I mentioned this earlier, say my name, Tammy, maybe I had a great aunt Tammy who was a horrible hag and she was a terrible person. And every time somebody says the name Tammy, I cringe. I did not have one, but I'm just using that as an example. But if somebody said, hey, Tammy, and it's inside, it just made me bleh, like it does that to me. And it might not show on the outside. but there's that small little thing in your brain that triggers that chemistry that makes you feel a certain way every time it happens. So learning that that's happening helps you. It helps you. Oh, right. And if you want to change your name, go ahead. Maybe you want to be and have a nickname instead. But if you don't know that that's happening, you can't correct it. You can't, you don't know. You just go through your life having that name. So some simple things like that. It's all about you. It's all about only things that you know, like your favorite teacher from school, um, your pet, um, just simple, basic things about ourselves. So once you complete that, as you complete that, it's got, you can do a little bit of shadow work while you're filling it out. So if a trigger comes up, say my great aunt Tammy, who I didn't like, I would write that on the bottom, just that, great aunt. That's it. I wouldn't go into it. I don't need to dive into the, all the stuff that goes with it. Just that it is a factor and that's it. That's it. You don't need to do anything else. We leave the station. Oh, first we have to collect our 12 rocks, 13 rocks. Um, our own physical Evelina, you'd go outside and you'd collect 12 or 13 rocks, or you'd have 13 crystals, or if you wanted to use something else, you could use marbles, you could use anything that's not perishable that you can, handle and hold and use. So it becomes part of an interactive journey. Then we get into the workbooks. So even the free section, the first 5 modules has a small workbook with it. And it's just the most simple, basic things where you just check in with yourself. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to Google. You don't have to ask anybody. You don't have to look up anything. It's just, you just check in with yourself. So it's really a journey of self-discovery and how it works for you, what it means to you. And as we get into the videos, let's say the first station is the Mystics Meadow. So you get out at the Mystics Meadow, you get off the train, you go to the Mystics Meadow, and then there's a little story that goes along. So I've created characters that are continuous throughout the journey. You'll always be running into the same sort of people. And then it's, unpacking the first cranial nerve, which is your olfactory nerve with your scent and security and safety. And there's a little video that goes along with that. And she goes on a little adventure and she finds the jewel. And within that video, there's symbols, secret coded symbols, where if you find them in there, then it's you write down, and by the end of the video, you will have a message that goes along with the journey. So just learning about yourself, unpacking yourself through the journey, but it's fun and it's interesting and there's resolution. It's the thorn and the jewel that you get through there as we build the crown. So we're building the crown, we're replacing, outdated beliefs, old things, the thorns, those little things that come up, and replacing them with something that's positive. And the videos, the first ones are about 4 or 5 minutes, and the actual course, the videos are about 8 minutes. So something super quick. I feel like this is, in line with the way people are today, right? We're always on our phones, we're always doing stuff. So if you want a healthy break, you could do it on your lunch break, watch the video, and then just have the questions in mind, and it unpacks itself. You don't have to think about it. The answers come to you because it is you. And right, there's nothing difficult about working with yourself except getting out of your own way.
Well, I love it. This is like so much creativity. Also, I can see it, and yeah, you put all your heart there, and yeah, and that sounds like really exciting healing journey, actually, or discovery journey, or come back to ourselves. Not even discover, because we are all and we know ourselves, but sometimes we just don't want to look at it. And
Right.
by this way we can, because what you just mentioned, sometimes it doesn't need to be something very difficult, because
Right.
this already process, but the key is to be also intentional. And even sometimes we need to just share to our brain, what do we want to receive today, what kind of message we are looking for, or what do we want to release, even if we didn't knowing. And this really also, this is really something, of course, there is much deeper work. Sometimes we can also work with our body and everything that is really like going deeper, but even the small part like you shared, they are so powerful, because this didn't need to be, I don't know, you not need to weeks or years to really make huge changes. But one thing is what you need to do, make the decisions for yourself.
Right? Yes, you got to be willing. And if you're willing, your world can open up, your whole life can change. You can get back to really who you are and be okay with that. Like, it's okay to be you. You don't have to be somebody else, like, ever. And I think that's, the biggest part of the journey is to come back to us. And at the end, that's where you go. Oh, I forgot about that about me. Or, oh, I never used to like that. And now I do. Or, to see your own growth, to see, who you are right in front of you. And that the journey, the healing adventure, it's just a different way of doing it without it being heavy, and it's fun and it's quick, and it opens up all sorts of, other avenues.
Yeah, no, thank you. I will definitely share also your, yeah, or you can share whatever, they can also reach out to you, but also where they can find you. And yeah, I will also tag those ladies. I will see if I can do that today, because before that I got warning from Facebook. As we know, Facebook is now a little bit sensitive than
Yes,
before.
they're very
and
sensitive.
and this was just happening to me today, before. But then I will say, otherwise I will tag them tomorrow in the safe in the safe moment where I can do it. But no, if someone of you was watching, then thank you, and if not, then I will, yeah, I will say it's just, yeah, share also what you got from this conversation with Tammy, because there was so many insight, and I do believe that each of you, no matter which kind of level you are, what kind of level of awareness of conscious mind, there was so many topics which you shared, which are actually this is our wealth, because that's all start from within. And yeah, and because with what we have in external or what we do not have didn't change nothing with it, because this is the capacity, this is our actually, yeah, this is the foundations, and the rest we can have, we can also lose, and sometimes we lose from not actually we are not the creator. Of course, I believe we are creating the reality also, but in some cases there are things which happens also in the world what not everyone have really effect on it. Of course, what they thought about that, we don't know it, but in some cases, of course, those kids or whatever, they don't know that they didn't, this was not then they creating this reality for themselves, for instance. But this is, yeah, the way then we can really navigate, and we still, if we really love ourselves enough, and also we have really that trust to ourselves, that no matter what can happen externally, we will also know that we can walk through it. And this is not about only to being resilient, because I am not really for it, because of course we can be resilient, but in the end this is also not healthy. But then we always have the fully confidence and the trust, then no matter what happened, we have ourselves and we can walk through it. And even if will be discomfort, we know then we can navigate it, and still, like you shared, Tommy, then still feeling that peace and happiness within, no matter what is going on, because this is about that. Because the moments of growth, of obstacles, doesn't matter in health, in finances, or in energetical capacity, whatever, that there always is moment of growth, and this always is discomfort. But how we really navigate it and how we walk through it, that's actually the best. Yeah, that is no, like you shared, there was no no reaction, but actually the response which we can give. And yeah, and thank you, Tammy, for your ready time and for this wonderful conversation, because I could speak with you. I guess you touch also so many layers, and I guess we could speak here 1 week or more, and this will be not enough. Yeah, and I
Thank
don't
you.
know if you have something you want to share, like last sentence to someone who is who is watching, or
Yes, I think I would just like to say again, reiterating to not give your power away to anybody. It's yours. It belongs to you. Even if it doesn't feel like it is, it's yours. And if it feels like it's dirty or uncomfortable or just not the energy you want to be in, it can be adjusted. It's just a matter of unpacking, just taking those things out, having a look at them because we carry so many things. We carry far too many things that we don't need to carry anymore. So put it down, unpack your bags, and start a new journey.
thank you, Tammy. No, ladies, if you want also reach out to Tammy, you know how to find her. So on the Facebook, but she will also share how you can also touch her work and yeah, how the work can touch you and how you can come back to yourself in different ways. And I do believe that we are all here for supporting each other. Even that's also part of what I am doing, but I know that we all have the pieces which together we can really make wonderful mixture together. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is so the thing, right? We're doing it together. It's not you against me or us against Tony Robbins. It's we're doing it together. And I think that's one of those things we need to say more. We are in this together. And if you still feel like you're alone, then that is where the problem is, because nobody is alone. We are all in this. We are here to help one another and look in a different direction if you're not finding the hand you need, because it's there.
Yeah. Definitely no. Thank you, Tammy. This was really wonderful conversation. No, ladies, if you know, then you know how to reach out. And thank you for watching when you will watch. And of course, make sure to share what brought this conversation from you. Yeah, if you want, you can also, of course, share live or reply, but I am not, I am more for quality than quantity. But if you want, then this message will reach out more ladies. You can, of course, add some more stuff to it. And no, and thank you.
Thank you, Evelina.